the American-backed Israeli attack on Iran constitutes an act, a brazen and irresponsible act of criminal international terrorism. It is illegal because even if we assume that Iran had nuclear weapons, it does not mean that a country with nuclear weapons simply attacks another. For instance, Pakistan has nuclear weapons that would not justify India going and bombing the nuclear sites in Pakistan. It is dangerous because any such act of bombing is likely to generate nuclear materials which would be dangerous for the population. Even if it is used for peaceful purposes, it is still the case that bombing this constitutes a dangerous act. It is immoral and duplicitous because Israel is not even a signatory to the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, while Iran is, and therefore for Israel to claim that it must have nuclear weapons while Iran must not be allowed to is something which is completely duplicitous and immoral. But above all, of course, Iran does not even have nuclear weapons because Iran was subject to inspection by the IAEA. And no IAEA inspector has actually said that Iran possesses nuclear weapons. What is more, even the US's own internal intelligence agencies have certified that Iran does not possess nuclear weapons. Therefore, the entire operation was carried out on the basis of premises which are completely false, quite apart from being illegal and immoral and dangerous. It is so false that one cannot help feeling that the real motivation behind it was something else. Not necessarily because they actually believed that Iran had nuclear weapons or was going to have in the near future, but because of the fact that Iran is currently one of the frontline states in anti-imperialist resistance. And therefore it's a way of taking out such a frontline state. But this makes the act even more reprehensible and unacceptable because then once Iran has been, let us assume that Iran drops out of being a frontline state, that the regime change in Iran because of which it no longer supports the resistance against imperialism. In that case, the next step would be to attack the next state, the next frontline state. So from Iran you go to something else, some other country. And therefore once this is accepted, then it actually sets up a chain reaction of legitimizing attacks by Israel backed by American imperialism against country after country. Now this is something which of course makes a mockery of any international law and of course of any notions of coexistence among countries in the international arena. Now this therefore brings me to the question that we are now at a stage where imperialism feels so threatened that it is either willing to unleash a nuclear war or alternatively it actually is going to make sure that country after country capitulates before it. Now this is a very dangerous dichotomy that it is being posed, that either you dismantle whatever resistance you have or alternatively we are going to attack you, and even though that may actually risk a nuclear war. Now besides, any regime change in Iran, which obviously was one of the objectives, and in my view, perhaps the main objective, in order to take Iran out of this circle of resistance against imperialism. Any regime change in Iran has to be done by the people of Iran. In other words, no outside country has any right to intervene in another country's internal affairs to bring about a change of government within that country. What is more, when this country intervening happens to be an imperialist country, then the justification for it, any justification for it, is something that immediately disappears, because it then becomes a very dangerous precedent that we don't like you, you are against us, and therefore we are going to attack you. And this therefore really brings the entire world into an utterly precarious situation. And in order to escape from this precarious situation, we need to move the entire public opinion of the world. Of course, states are going to react in various ways. There would be discussions among them. But on the other hand, more important than the state's reaction, they would to ensure that states react the correct way. There has to be a mass mobilization of public opinion. People all over the world must be made to realize that now we are in such a dangerous situation where imperialism is giving the option to countries that either you fall in line or we attack you, even at the risk of unleashing a nuclear war in the world. And this, therefore, arousing international public opinion against this kind of a threat is something which has now acquired paramount importance, and I believe every sensitive, thinking person in the world must wake up to this danger and also make others aware of this danger. Thank you.